Hello, everyone, and welcome to another See You Next Thursday podcast. Today's subject is extra spicy as we're discussing Manchester City's 2-year ban from all UEFA competition for breaching FFP regulations. And also, I'm sure there will be other footballing bits and bobs we'll be mulling over too. To pick the bones, we have Eds001, Eds25, and myself, Eds666. How are we doing, lads?
Doing good, thanks.
Yeah, good here.
Good. Should we get into it?
Absolutely.
May as well.
Yeah, so that's what we're here for. So, Man City receiving a 2-year European ban for breaching FFP regulations. Is it deserved?
Just before we go on, you should point out that it's not just for breach of FFP, it's also for not cooperating with the investigation.
Good point, thank you.
Because that's obviously, that makes it a totally different argument, you know, whether they're...
There's a new light on it, yeah.
Yeah, 30 million fine as well.
Absolutely,
I don't think it's fair whatsoever.
Sorry, Billy?
I don't think it's fair whatsoever.
Why not?
I don't know why we've got financial fair play.
Oh, because Everton have
You've
got
got
rich
the money.
owner.
Let them spend it.
Well, the idea was it's to stop the clubs with just having a owner like happened to Gretna, where the owner came in, financed them, spent huge fortunes, built up this huge squads of players. But when he died, the club was left. Or obviously, if someone gets bored and just pulls their money out, the club can't afford to sustain the wages. That's the issue. Gretna's dead, gone.
That's a good point on Gretna.
Wasn't it initially innovated for Chelsea so they couldn't join the top table with so Abramovich couldn't spend his millions?
No, they were one of the supporters of it initially. They were one of the big supporters.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. All right, so you don't think it's deserved, Billy? Tristan?
I don't.
If what they've done is true, if they got the thing, it depends. They've signed up. They've accepted the rules. So forget whether you think the FFP rules are right or wrong. You've got to say, they've been found guilty, so they deserve the punishment that comes with that. I mean, it's not their first offence, remember? And this isn't a case of them overspending. This is a case of them hiding it.
Well, that's a different matter for me. If they're hiding it, they're out of order.
Yeah, well, there's more to it. When we know for a fact that when Mancini was employed by Man City, they were paying him extra wages, more than he was getting paid through the club, as a consultant for their Abu Dhabi team. The owner's Abu Dhabi team.
I read that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, and when Pep was asked if he was getting the same way to get round, because it's obviously a way to get round FFP, they don't pay him his full wages; they only pay him part. He just refused to answer. He won't even discuss it. It's not even illegal, that, but they won't own up to doing it. Why?
There's no smoke without fire.
There's something, but they're hiding it. This is the thing. Otherwise, why not just... Because you can tell FIFA, UEFA, that is not against FFP regulations to pay part of his wages through another team. So, it's just not... They don't.
Okay, for context, Tristan, right? The guy that leaked the information was a gentleman by the name of Rio Pinto via the German publication Der Spiegel.
It was actually Football Leaks first off, wasn't it?
Okay. Rui Pinto has been charged with circa 147 criminal offences, and Man United claim that this puts Pinto's credibility and thus the nature of the documents into some doubt. So, do you concur with that?
Well, it's got a point, because in a court of law, evidence obtained illegally is not admissible, even though you can have a witness come in who's committed 1 billion crimes, say, and you can put him in witness protection and say that that's okay. But if he'd hacked the information rather than witnessed it, if you see what I mean, if he'd have been a witness and involved in some kind of criminal act, he would be put in witness protection and protected, you know what I mean? And he could turn status evidence. But because he's hacked the information from the outside, he's just a criminal. It does seem a strange system to me.
For context, who is Rui Pinto?
He's a hacker from Portugal. What he did is hacked into these files through I think it was a law firm, wasn't it? Initially, started with he's. I mean, the thing is, Man City have got a point that a lot of it is out of context. So you're only seeing one side of a conversation or little tidbits of a conversation. So, they have got some point behind their argument, their defence. And that is where the problem lies, is that they probably can fight this.
I can hear. All right, you talked for about 2 minutes and none of us could hear you. So for editing purposes, Tristan, go again. Who's Rui Pinto?
Oh, God. Okay. He's a Portuguese hacker. He found, he got into I think it was a Portuguese law firm's website that had all these hidden documents and all this initially, and then he started getting into emails and stuff as well from Man City that uncovered all this. But a lot of it is just snippets of conversation, and he's got bits of legal documents. He hasn't got everything, and that's where the problem lies. Okay,
but here's my question to you guys, right? Obviously, if it's inadmissible evidence, right? UEFA still it was serious enough for UEFA to do an investigation and ban City for 2 years. Surely the top brass at UEFA would have taken the best legal advice on the planet to see if they could ban, and they knew that City would come back hard at them. Obviously, with the might of City and the money City has, they were going to come back legally. They were going to come hard at them. So why would they ban them? Go through the whole process of banning them if it wasn't going to stand up in court? I don't understand. If it's inadmissible evidence, if it's been hacked evidence.
Well, they think they can make it stick. They've taken advice. They think it can make it stick. But to be honest, I mean, the worry I have is, was this done because it was an English team? Would they have done this if it had been a Spanish team?
Why not?
Because you've not noticed there's a definite they want to drag down the English because they got more money. The English teams have more money anyway, and that's not liked on the continent.
Oh, so there's a continental bias, you think, towards?
Oh, definitely, 100%. And Chelsea even alluded to it. Remember recently when they got banned.
You think that most of the bigger teams in the Premier League all have skeletons in the cupboards regarding financial fair play?
We don't.
I think you might do.
Oh, yeah, we do. We've got... Everyone does.
I agree with you. Everyone does. And it's just getting caught. That's what it's all about.
But we were one of the biggest proponents of financial fair play. John Henry bought the club on the basis that financial fair play was being regulated and implemented. So I don't see how he would flout it. Yeah, of course, maybe they're into, maybe Liverpool are in grey areas somewhat, but I would be very, very sceptical if they were next in any investigation, because that would just be hypocritical. And I'm not sure that that's how FSG run their businesses.
All businesses, whether it be football or any other business, hide things. You've got to, it's taking advantage. And I think they're all the same, to be honest with you.
No, I understand, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, there's a distinction between hiding things and completely flouting the rules and being and illegal activities. I think there's a big margin between the two. That's where the grey area is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know enough about City's business practices to categorically say, yeah, you know what, they're definitely guilty, because they've had form, but that doesn't matter. You can be rehabilitated. that doesn't mean you're guilty if you've had previous, you know. So exactly. So they vehemently now today, the city chief executive Ferraro, is it Ferran Seriano? He's come out today and saying, look, this is the breaches that they say we're guilty about, just simply not true, and they're vehemently what's the word I'm looking for? Denying it. Yeah, exactly.
Can I just point out that the only reason, the only relevance of a previous breach is that when you get a subsequent, when you're subsequently punished for a similar offence, obviously the punishment has to be a higher level. So the only thing that matters is why they got a 2-year ban, because they previously breached on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, but but so they have got a higher punishment, a 2-year ban. Before it was a fine.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's why I'm saying that you said it doesn't matter. That one of you two said about it doesn't matter that they've been guilty before. No, it doesn't matter as in terms of whether they're guilty this time, but it does matter in terms of the punishment you receive.
As per regulation, you have to get a sterner punishment. Okay, yeah, I understand that. Now, so obviously it's going through the Court of Arbitration, CAS, at the moment. Obviously we're going to get
they've got to appeal to it yet. But they will.
They haven't done it yet, no?
No, they had 10 days to appeal, so.
Gotcha.
They'll appeal, won't they?
Yeah, they'd definitely appeal.
What are you feeling, lads? What's going to happen? I mean, will it get will it get upheld? Will they get vindicated, or will it just be? I think it might just turn into a 1-year ban, like most.
I think it'll turn into a 1-year ban. I think you're right, Hank.
Yeah. I can't see it being upheld as is anyway.
But the thing is, what's giving me, what should give City fans hope, and this is not, I'm not in any way an informed legal expert, but the fact that you're saying that this evidence, and City are, most importantly, City are saying that this evidence is derived from hacks, leaks, inadmissible evidence, then surely they're going to have the brightest lawyers on the planet represent them in a court of law, and maybe they find a legal loophole or something. It'll be completely.
Well, a lot of the things that they would challenge it on are probably not going to work. The one they can challenge though is obviously A, it's out of context, because there's no context, but B, the fact that it was obtained illegally is going to be their main bone of contention, the thing that they can hang their hat on, I think.
But I hear that, but I just don't understand how. It baffles me how UEFA have taken this far and not. They don't think that they can't make it stick. I just don't realise on that.
They do believe they can make it stick. The problem is for City is that the evidence does seem pretty damning. The only hope they've got is that it was illegally obtained, and obviously some of it was. The problem as well, we haven't got the full ruling because they won't release it until City, till they've decided. City have decided what they're doing, and then if City appeal, they won't release the ruling until after until after it goes to court, because they don't want to prejudice the hearing. They can't do, obviously.
So as it stands, City have been found to have been cheating and have tried to basically suffocate their competitors with their their fantasy money, and they've come up stuck. So if it gets it sticks, would you accept what would you want done in this situation? Would the titles they've won, what would you want to have done?
Nothing.
Want to be done with them?
Nothing.
You can't do nothing with the titles. I wouldn't say so.
Would
you want to win a title if you win in the league? I don't think so.
So you'd be happy with them being stripped of the title?
No.
And
no, that's what we're saying. We wouldn't. We think they should keep their titles.
Why? If they've been cheating, why would they keep their?
What they've actually done, the thing they're actually being found guilty of or main thing is overinflating sponsorship revenue. So basically, rather than just pumping the money straight into the club, which they would have done if there wasn't for FFP rules, what they've done is they've pumped the most they could put in. Then they've said that, oh no, we've been sponsored by, they've pumped the money in still, but they've said that it's come from sponsorship when the sponsors only paid, say, half of it. So it's basically all they've done really is put an extra, say, 40 million a year into the club from their own resources.
Right.
But I don't see anything wrong with that,
I mean, well, you wouldn't, because you're about to do the same with after sports pays are gone, aren't you? That's the whole point of this scrapping your sponsorship deal, wasn't it?
He's just covering his back for next year's court case.
Door neighbour, when you bought a nice new car, comes along and keys it because he's very jealous of what you've got. That's what it seems like to me.
I don't understand your logic, guys. If as it stands, and I'm not getting into any legal jeopardy here, they've cheated. So they deserve to be stripped of their titles, and it's like they've had an unfair advantage. Of course they have.
Yeah, I get that, but it's not. I just think it's. Yeah, I just think unless it's match fixing itself, I think you don't strip retrospectively. You just give the punishment when they're caught.
They've had. What about? I don't know. If we'd have had an extra 40 million that season, we could have bought another striker or a midfielder who scored goals from midfield, or a better defender. They broke rules. They had an unfair advantage.
You can't retrospectively say we could have done this or we could have done that or we'd have got more points. I think you just got to suck it up and say, okay, there's been irregularities, but that's what we're going to find them for. But I don't think you can take the titles off them.
Okay, who was there? Oh no, it was under, what's his name, wasn't it? The Chilean manager. What was his name? Pellegrino. So
Pellegrini.
Yeah, Pellegrini. Sorry, after Pellegrino's a drink, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, if he had minus 40 million to spend that season or the season before, maybe that wouldn't have affected the title. I'll have that. If the FA came up to me and said, all right, Liverpool have got Man City got caught cheating. They broke the rules. Liverpool's title in 2015. It's Liverpool's title in 2015. I'll have that any day, every single day.
Yeah.
I would.
Yes, every single day.
Wouldn't feel right. We haven't won
it won't feel right, It won't feel right. Brendan Rodgers winning the title.
Exactly.
But still, yeah. But I'd have that. Why wouldn't it feel right?
But I don't think it would. I don't know which years does it pertain to. I mean, which years do you strip? I mean, they didn't win every time, so it can't have been that much of an advantage.
They won it twice. They've won the title, haven't they? 3 times. They've won it under. They won it under Pep. They've won it under Pellegrini. They won it under Mancini.
Yeah, but what I mean is they didn't win it every year, so obviously it wasn't that huge an advantage. I'm not even sure which years this even pertains
I think it's
to.
2015. I think it's 2015. But it's still cheating nonetheless. They flouted
Yeah, but what
laws.
I mean is, what I mean by I don't know what year it is, what I mean is, I don't know what years would you strip, what years would you say it affects?
Strip them all. I mean, at the end of the day, they cheated as it stands. And listen, I'm saying as it stands, they cheated, but it could be when they go to court, it gets overturned or whatever legally. So at the moment, I'd strip them. I mean, that's like saying Carl Lewis. And not Carl Lewis. What's it? The Canadian sprinter.
Well, you say that, but it went to Carl Lewis, who'd been banned twice as a college athlete for failing drug tests, and was no cleaner than Ben Johnson. The only difference was he didn't get caught because he got his timings
There
right.
you go. But that's all.
So why strip him? You may as well have kept it at Ben Johnson. He was no bigger cheat than the rest of them.
Yeah, but the thing with Carl Lewis is inference and supposition. It didn't happen, so you can't say.
But he kept saying he'd never taken drugs, even though he got caught twice.
Yeah, but he didn't get the Olympic Doping Commission.
Well, he clearly lied at the thing. He clearly lied at the hearings. Is enough. That's cheating. He's lied.
But then listen. It wasn't official. I'm talking about official. City have been officially condemned, and they've been officially breaking the rules. So they should have their titles revoked. I believe that. Look at Ben Johnson. He's not the Olympic gold medal champion in the record books anymore, and never will be.
Yeah, but what he did's a bit different. If Manchester City had match fixed, which is basically what they're saying Ben Johnson did.
Ben Johnson cheated. Man City, as it stands, cheated. Ben Johnson got his gold medal stripped, and so should City get their title stripped.
So how far back do you go? How far forward do you go? Do you carry on stripping them for good because they've still got the players that they bought with, at the time?
That's for the FA to decide. It's like if you big that gives the inspiration, hope to cheaters. Then
and what happens? What happens if they decide? Well, retrospectively, if we're going to do that, we may as well go back. Well, Liverpool would never have had Virgil van Dijk if Klopp didn't tap him up.
But we paid a punishment for that.
We paid a premium for his signing in January.
Same difference.
Because we paid the premium for his signing because he refused to go anywhere else because of the tapping up. Because Klopp had got to him. But the point is, he might have not gone to us if Klopp hadn't tapped him up. So that's cheating, and that's turned out. I mean, how much of a difference has he made?
But that's Southampton's fault for not.
How is that Southampton's fault?
Reporting him. Because they didn't report Liverpool to the FA.
They did.
All right, they got the premium for it. Then they still
that's not really because they could have had they couldn't have an auction for him, to get the best price possible because he refused to go anywhere else.
Then they took the blood money. That's on them. They shouldn't have just been greedy.
What else could they do?
I think it's an absolute can of worms.
Listen,
exactly, Bilbo. It's a can of worms. What he's talking about stripping.
It's a point of principle. If Southampton was so hurt and upset and disrespected over Liverpool's illegal, inverted commas, approach to Virgil van Dijk, they should have made a point of it. It should have been a point of principle and forget the 75 million. They should have said, right, okay, you're going to get punished for this. We're going to the FA. But they didn't. They took the money.
No. So what they wanted was they had a player that's worth more than the rest of their entire squad. They needed to rebuild. He'd have been unhappy there because he wanted to leave to go to Liverpool because he'd been tapped up.
Right.
So the best thing for their club is to get rid of him, and he would only go to Liverpool. So what choice did they have? They had to take the best price they could get from us. Now, if they'd have been able to put him on no, they didn't, did they? Because they could have got. I mean, Manchester City, Chelsea had all walked away. Man United because he wanted to go to Liverpool. So you don't know what the price had gone up to.
I doubt they would have got more than 75 million. No way. I very much doubt. Anyway,
well, tell Leicester that who got more than that for Maguire.
Maguire.
Yeah.
How far do you go back? And who else should investigate? Do you investigate every team and try to get them on something? And strip every...
I hear you, mate. I hear you. But the thing is, if you strip it... All right, if you don't give us the title or whoever the second place team is, strip the titles if you're cheating. I mean, you can't. Just...
The league rules state that if the top team, if the team that wins it gets stripped, it goes automatically to the second. Ed 2 cleared this up for us the other day.
It does go to the second team, right?
Yes, it has to. It's the rules.
Well, in my mind, we've won number 19 already. Then
wouldn't that mean Man United have got an extra one as well?
That's what I was just thinking. I'm trying to do the
Tottenham would have one.
Second. No, I can't have that.
Exactly. Let's just calm down here. Forget it.
Just erase the last half an hour.
Yeah. Do you really want to get? Shall I delete that bit? Edit it out. Yeah.
That's so funny.
You hadn't thought this through at all, had you?
Until you said the T word.
Thankfully, Everton have never finished second in recent years, so we don't have to worry about that.
They don't even finish second in Merseyside, let alone the whole league.
We're on the way up, you know that.
Hopefully.
Mate, it will be good for I think it will be good for the city. Obviously, if we had two strong teams on Merseyside, that's for sure.
Will they do it by the same route as Man City, though, overinflating the sponsorship? Do you think they'll really do that, Billy?
Hopefully, I'd love them to try and do it anyway.
Oh, the hypocrisy!
Where it comes from, so long as we do it.
What's going on, Tristan? What are you talking about? What do you mean about that?
Well, I think this one's probably best Billy to describe, isn't it? Explain.
Go on, Billy.
What, Tris?
What we're talking about, why we're saying are Everton going to do the same thing? I think it's best you explain as it's your club, like.
I know Ed O'Chu keeps going on about how we're in financial trouble. And he's probably right. He'll know more than me about it. But we've spent money, but I don't think we've spent anything near the money that other clubs have spent. I'm not a great believer in it, but I'd like us to spend more money. Every team would, but I don't see where Everton are going to come into the Man City brackets of spending too much money.
Well, you already have on wages and stuff. I mean, Carlo Ancelotti, etc.
But relative to all the other teams.
Yes, but your income's much lower, which is why is this Sport Pesa sponsorship that your shirt sponsors that's going at the end of the season. Do you think that'll bring it more in line in income terms? Because that's where you're lacking, isn't it?
Yeah, I know the income. That's why I don't get FFP at all.
But Billy. This is what FFP is. I think, in a nutshell. But please correct me if I'm wrong. Clubs need to be successful, right? The ledger will then balance, and the share of the turnover taken up by wages the share of the takeover taken up by the wages will decrease, and that's how you grow. Am I right?
You're all right there, Hank. But the thing is, why does it seem as though there's smaller clubs? And I'm counting Everton in the smaller clubs, by the
way. Don't worry, we all thought that immediately.
They seem to be getting the same treatments as teams who are spending far more. I know you're talking about success, but trying to get into the top echelon, and they're being stopped from improving, is what FFP looks like to me.
I believe
that's how City tried doing it. That's how City tried doing it. They try to spend big in order to eat at that top table. And it's hard to do that because you've got to, I think traditionally you've got to be successful over a period of time, like, Man United have been and Chelsea, etc. So it's hard for again, I'm not trying to patronise you in any way, shape or form, like the smaller clubs like Everton, to get into that. You've got to be successful for 2 or 3 years at least to dine at the top table.
The problem is that pretty much most of the markets other than there's only really the US market left, because Man United and Liverpool have pretty much sewn up the entirety of Asia already.
Yeah.
They got in before before everybody else when it was the right time, and they've already got the base. So anybody else is playing catch up, and that's why I can understand why people don't like FFP and why there does need to be something else, some other way of doing it.
It's a catch-22 situation for me. Everton want to get better. They're willing to spend the money to get better, which you need to do. And yet they're getting penalised for wanting to improve. And that's where it seems a bit, unfair to me.
Yeah, because how do you improve if you don't spend the money?
Exactly, Chris.
Though you look at teams like Atalanta and they're doing all right without spending. So maybe that's the problem, is that you can't think of the right way to do it, a way like they've done.
Everyone's after... All the microwave supporters, they're all after instant success, aren't they? All the clubs do. They don't want to wait 5 years, 10 years to build a side. They want to dine at the top table now or in the next couple of years. And I feel that's how Everton are at the moment.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
You know, you were saying, Tristan, about Man United and Liverpool have sewn up. They've got like Asia market sewn up. I feel that Everton have still, Billy. Everton have got. I mean, I'm coming from this geography, this part of this geography in the USA. Everton have got a big following in America. I mean, it may not be that big, but there's still inspiration, shoots of promise all over the world. You know, there is. You just need a. It just seems to me Everton have a very antiquated marketing system that they're just stuck in the.
I agree with
that. Stuck in the 80s. Yeah, I mean, it takes 2, 3, 4 years of look at what Liverpool have done. They're a marketing juggernaut, FSG, right? And they appreciate and they understand the modern world. And I just don't feel Everton have got their finger on the pulse in social media marketing or whatever, big business, whatever it may be. I just feel there's still a following there. You've got that, you got that hardcore following. You just need that. You just need to step into the modern world, into 2020.
Supporters see it like that, though, Hank. You know, I think what they see is that Everton are trying to become a bigger club, trying to get involved in the upper echelons, the top 6, basically. But it seems that, and I agree with you, the marketing has been terrible for Everton for years. But it seems like we're not getting the chance to improve. And I think that's the problem with Everton.
Yeah, I feel that you're not visionaries in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely not. No.
On a playing level or on a business level, and that's what's hindering you. You may not need a super wealthy owner. You just need people like, say, people on the pulse when it comes to marketing and PR and that kind of stuff.
I know what you need. You need to get a visionary like Peter Johnson back in with Park Ampers.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there was a man who understood marketing, wasn't there? He managed to destroy both Tranmere and Everton, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Guys, going back to City, what do you think is going to be the fallout here? I think when this news broke, we all assumed there was going to be a mass fallout, like Pep was on his way, and there was going to be a mass exodus of players. I'm not so sure now. I think they'll want to keep their stars, their footballers, star footballers, for obvious reasons. If they get this ban is not overturned. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, though. Will they entice them by giving them sweetening up their contracts? But isn't that going to infringe FFP some way?
They could just loan them out for a 2-year period
and pay their wages.
Well, they don't have to, because the other team, if they're good players, if you're taking Bernardo Silva, you're happy to pay most of his wages, aren't you?
Right, but then what happens for you in the meantime? So in the Premiership, like, do you just forego the Premiership for 2 years or a year?
They take the income from the loans, buy other players, and then when they come back, they've just got other players that they can swap between. You know what I mean? They can sell a few of them, keep some of them, and still compete.
City going on hold for 2 years.
I'm sorry, Billy.
Can't see Man City going on hold for 2 years.
I don't see that either.
I've got to be
honest.
I think
they give assurances to the players that they're going to win it.
No,
I agree, Billy.
I don't. I think what will happen is a push towards the European Super League instead.
That'll be the death of football for me.
The European Super League.
Sorry, Billy, I didn't get that, mate.
My worst fear is the European Super League. I think it'll be a disaster, absolute disaster.
I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Mate, that'll be the end of football for me.
Can you afford to fly to Barcelona and fly all over Europe? The normal supporter to go and watch your side? Because I don't think you can.
Highlighting on what you've said, Billy, I just don't have any interest in watching Barcelona, Liverpool, Barcelona, Everton, Freudian slip. I don't have any interest in Liverpool, Barcelona, or Man City versus Real Madrid every week. I mean, that should be that's special. You know, that should be just for the Champions League and the European Cup, not every week. That's like American sports then.
Yeah, I was having this discussion with Ed too, and I was saying the problem is it's not just that, like, these, you know, it's not just the fact that, like, it wouldn't be special because you've not earned it, you know what I mean, by qualifying. Yeah. You know, that's what makes it special, because it's rare, and you've got no rivalry with these teams. Who gives a toss about Real Madrid? I don't. I can't stand them. I've got no interest in them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I hate watching the Spanish teams play. They're awful. They just roll around on the floor, diving. I mean, it's all they do. It's like having 11 Jack Grealishes up against you watching Atletico Madrid last night. It's just horrible.
It took him 30 minutes to mention Jack Grealish. You got it in, though.
I was waiting for the chance.
Yeah, because we're never going to be talking about Villa in the Super League. But it's going to be a realisation, correct, lads? This breakaway league, this European league. It's just when.
I'm not so sure, you know. I think the supporters are going to rebel against it. I can't see what it offers to the league.
Well, what it offers is more money for the owners. But they're forgetting that would only be a short-term game because the fans would be turned off by it. And it's the fans that matter.
And at least a league like that is no good to the normal supporter. Where he can go, he can catch a train, or he can drive to, like, down to London, or he can go to Newcastle or wherever. And that's local rivalry. Whereas, would you want to get on a plane every weekend to go and watch your team and stay over? It's going to cost a fortune, and the normal supporter just won't be able to live with that.
And more than that, it's just like doing that every other weekend it takes a lot out of your life. It affects relationships. It affects your life. You know, it's highly impractical, nearly impossible. I mean, the only thing.
Anyone who's in favour of it myself, besides Ed too. I don't know anyone.
I'm not sure he's in favour of it either. I think he just thinks it's an inevitability.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. I think so. He's very matter of fact that it's going to happen. I just think it'll be the death of football as we know it, and it will be it'll be a rebirth of football, but it won't interest me whatsoever. To be honest with you,
the knock-on effect will be to all the lower league clubs, the Division 1s, the Division 2s. Yeah. We're going to be amateur. They're going to have to go amateur because there'll be no interest in it.
Yeah.
There'll be amateur or semi-professional teams.
Yeah.
And you'll lose all.
They'll be doing it for the love of football rather than the money.
Yeah, they'd have to.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if it does happen, it'd be great in a way because I'd have so much more time on my hands because I wouldn't be watching football for 9 months of the year.
I agree with you there. I only watch.
Good point.
Would you want to watch Man United versus Real Madrid? Because I certainly wouldn't.
I don't want to watch them now.
It just has no interest, does it? It's not interesting at all.
I mean, Tristan, Billy, you don't think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen, Tristan?
I think it'll happen because they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're idiots, and they think they think it's going to make them lots and lots of massive amounts of money, but it won't because it'll be a short fad, and then people will drift away and find other things to watch.
And the thing is, exactly, because it's going to, and also it's foreign ownership that's doing this mostly. It's the owners that are foreign owners that are leading this drive.
Well, yeah, it's the people that have bought in. It's people that have bought in to make money rather than bought it because they love the club.
Yeah, they've got no emotional investment. It's just hard money, and they just want to see the
such as FSG. I've got to point that out because they're the ones that are working with what's his name, Ross, the Miami Dolphins owner, who's the big man behind it. Yeah, Stephen Ross, that's it.
Stephen.
And they're working with him and on this, which is the worry for me.
Yeah, that's because they own a baseball team as well.
No, well, it's partly because they want to get NFL games at Anfield, and it's partly because they're backing his idea for this Super League, the European Super League thing, and the increase of the International Champions Trophy thing in the summer and stuff like that.
Somebody have a word with Linda. She won't let it happen.
Would this? Can I just ask whether you think that Manchester City plight at the moment, would that affect them going into the Super League?
Yeah, it makes them more likely to want it because it won't be a UEFA competition, which is why FIFA wouldn't mind it, because they'll want to run it.
Yeah, but it won't happen in 2 years.
You'd be
That's
surprised.
Impossible. I couldn't see that happen in 2 years.
I'm not being funny. How long? Sorry, go on.
No, mate, go on.
I was going to say, how long will the court case take, though, first? Because they won't be punished until the court case is finished, will they?
Well, that's this summer, isn't it? I mean, they'll need to know by the start of the transfer window.
No, because they'll just defer the punishment until the end of the court case. So it just
One minute. I'm still reeling from the fact you said sorry when you butted in. Oh my God.
Sorry, I thought I was talking to someone I liked then.
Yeah, but they've got to know before transfer window. I'm assuming.
No, they don't need to know because they can just defer punishment. The punishment will just wait until the court case is done.
You can't make a decision until the court case is finished.
This is they've opened up a can of worms there.
Yeah, I mean, this could just. Go on, sorry, I'm confused now. Who was talking?
Oh my God,
I've lost. Who was talking?
That's two sorries for interjection. I can't get over it.
I'm getting old.
Oh yeah, but can you imagine the City fans? They'll be booing that Champions League anthem even more now.
There's only 3 of them, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, nobody can hear them anyway.
Yeah, true. So, what do we think about the exodus of players? It isn't going to happen, or is it just a wait and see?
I think they'll have assurances from City's legal team that nothing's going to happen, because otherwise they'll all be looking for the outdoor.
Well, they can wait anyway, can't they? Because not being funny, this isn't going to be done in 10 days.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it gets overturned and it's only not overturned, but if it gets halved, the punishment gets halved to a year, and they still leave, I think that's bang out of order on the part of City players, because they can't even give them 1 year of their out of the Champions League. That's a bit not right. Even still, if I was Sheikh Mansour and the City ban was upheld and people left, I'd still be pissed. I'd be very, very annoyed, because I'm sure he's looked after them. I know there's no what's the word in football, loyalty, but really this will show them. This will show the players that have stones and loyalty.
How can you say there's no loyalty in football? Pogba's still there at Man United, isn't he?
Isn't he just?
Yeah, but he's a prisoner. He's Solskjaer's prisoner, though, isn't he?
He's owned by Solskjaer, remember?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so funny what Riola said. Yeah. I hope you're not trying to say that Ole owns Pogba.
Mino will be on the phone to me in a minute.
That is, I tell you, Mino's a genius, man. He's really messing with Ole's head.
Oh, man.
He doesn't look. I mean, I don't know what a super agent looked like, but Mino Raiola does not look like one of the.
What you imagine, you mean?
Yeah, it's just, you imagine somebody really like sharply dressed, suited and booted, hair
Mendes,
back.
You mean that type?
Yeah, Mendes. Yeah, he's no Mendes. Hey, talking about football agents, I met what's his name once, Paul Gascoigne's agent, the ball fella. What was his name? Oh God, he was a really, really funny guy. Was it Steen or something? No.
You on about Mel Steen?
20 years. Yeah.
He used to, didn't he? Is that the one that used to play for Wednesday? Is that a different Mel Steen? I never did figure that out.
That's a different Mel Steen.
I never did figure that out.
Different. One's black and one's white.
Oh, I don't know. I don't actually know who his agent is. I just know the name. So.
What was his name? He had. He was. I'll Google it now. Paul Gascoigne's agent.
God, your anecdotes are getting worse. You have to Google them now. Oh God!
The one who had the catchphrase. He had a really snappy catchphrase.
Oh, do you mean
remember.
Eric Monster?
That's
face.
The one.
Oh, I like him. He was great, but he's
was funny as F. He's brilliant. He's
Looney
such a nice guy, mate. Oh,
hey,
he's
really
brilliant. Always.
Got to say, one thing he really did was look after his players properly and the clubs. He tried to come to an agreement that worked for both sides. He was a really good agent. Yeah. But obviously...
He's still alive?
What?
He's still alive?
I believe so, yeah.
I haven't heard of him for a long time, Monster.
I can't... What was his name, though? Eric... Just Monster, really. That's all you knew.
No, that's not his birth name.
No, but I'm saying everyone knew him as Monster, because that's all he ever said.
Yeah.
Oh, what was his name? I'm Googling it now.
Oh, he was great, though. He was a real character as well.
A character.
Eric Hall.
That's it, yes.
Eric Hall. And I tell you what, he treated everybody the same, whether it be a high-ranking executive, politician, or somebody that worked at the supermarket. You know, he was such a good guy. Oh, you know what?
Did you meet him at the supermarket then when you were working there?
I did. Yeah.
Stacking shelves, yeah.
I was stealing chicken legs more like and razor blades.
I can believe that.
All right, guys. So. No mass exodus then. You think Pep's going to stay?
Yeah, I think he's staying. Well, he said he's staying, hasn't he?
That's good. He's never broken a contract, has he?
Oh, well done.
He's only had 2 before this one.
Well, he's had Barcelona, clearly, Bayern Munich, City.
Yeah, so that's just it. That's what I'm saying. He's only had 2 before this one, so it's not like it's a lot of...
but they were long bloody contracts.
No, they weren't. He only did, 3 years? He did 3 years. And then he quit.
Let's see that. 6 years, so he's had... 1 minute, when would he start?
He had 3 years at Barcelona, then had a year off. Then he had 3 years at City, had time off. Then he had 3 years at Bayern and had a year off, didn't he? Pretty sure he had 3 years at each.
97, he was named at Barcelona manager.
Oh, maybe it was more.
Google's my friend. All right, should we draw a line? Should we draw under... You know what? I shouldn't have said that. People might have thought I knew that from memory.
Nobody's going to believe that, mate. Yeah. Nobody's ever going to believe you knew anything. You must be the happiest person on earth because ignorance is bliss.
What?
Don't worry.
Oh, mate. It's got over my head, mate. Tumbleweed. Should we draw a line under the Man City debacle and carry on?
Yeah, can do.
All right, guys. I think Tristan, you got a few points that you want to discuss.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking. There's a few things I noticed. Like, have you heard the latest on Bury? They're struggling since the financial. They got kicked out of League One. I don't know if you've heard they failed to pay their CVA. They agreed, so it looks like they're dead and buried completely now.
I'm gonna say, mate, I'm a footballer. It's not. Boom, boom. Oh my God, that was quite funny. How long did it take you to work that? How long was you working on that one for?
I gave him the notes about an hour before the first lot of.
Did you spell them right and everything?
No, I don't spell right. You know that.
Yeah. Next.
Right. So yeah. So it just seems a shame that we're losing a 100-odd-year-old club for no reason other than money.
If we get the European Super League, there'll be a lot of berries.
Well, exactly. So it's a pretty good first of many, isn't it? Did you notice in the Bundesliga who won their Player of the Month for January?
No.
Oh, go on.
Have a guess.
Show.
It's new signing, just joined the club.
All right. New signing, just joined the club.
It's moved to Borussia Dortmund in January.
Erling Haaland.
Yeah, but do you know how many minutes he'd played in January?
No.
59 in total.
And he's won
Player of the Month for January.
Player of the Month.
Yeah, 59 minutes he played.
Though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but but still, that doesn't say a lot for the rest of them, does it?
No, but it just either that's a really poor league or he is effing amazing.
A bit of both, I think. Their defending's awful. Did you? I think I was discussing it with somebody else about the defending. I mean, there was one point Jadon Sancho's running with the ball, and a defender just goes flying across in front of him on his backside, nowhere near him, just went flying across in front of him, and it was like, what's he doing? All he had to do was stop in front of him. Instead, he just went flying straight across in front of him. I mean, he's got to have been 10 yards away from him. And so he's just on the floor, nowhere near it. And you're thinking, what was he doing? He wasn't about to shoot or anything. So Jadon Sancho just carries on running and scored.
Where did that come from?
I think you went offline a bit there, Trish.
Oh, I'm just saying the defending's terrible. So, like you're saying about the league being crap, I think it's a bit of both. That it's not just that he's good; it's that the rest of the league isn't very good. Their defending is hopeless there at the moment.
Yeah, but I think I agree. I concur with what you say, but I still think in that league there's some excellent players that could make it happen at the top level.
Yeah, that's what I said. A bit
in
of both.
Other leagues. Yeah. I think that I believe that the Leipzig, the defender Upamecano.
Yeah, there's a couple of theirs. Two centre backs.
Yeah,
I forgot what the other one is.
There's a right back you like, isn't there, or a left back from Leipzig you like?
Yeah, he's also plays centre back.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's the other one I was talking about. He's excellent.
And what about this Havertz guy? Does he flatter to deceive, or is he the real deal?
He's not playing well this season, so.
No, but they still want 20 million euros for him. I don't understand how anybody would go and blow that much money on somebody that's just raw, or just a talent.
Liverpool been linked with Havertz.
What's that, buddy?
Liverpool been linked with Havertz, Guy Havertz.
I honestly think we're going to get him. I've got this sneaky feeling that we're going to get him. Roads lead to Liverpool buying him, but I just don't see who's going to pay that much money, though. How are we going to pay that much money?
Awesome off City.
Well, if you keep winning trophies, you make a lot of money.
Yeah, fair point.
So,
yeah, but don't you have, but can you just go out and go? I mean, okay, so
but you're not paying it up front, are you?
Yeah, but in order to this is a good way. Actually, this is a good segue for FFP. Let's explain. As Tristan, explain how you can buy big money transfer players and still satiate FFP regulations and still satisfy FFP regulations. Well, so why can Man City? Oh no, Man City's not a good example because they don't play big.
Yeah, let's not go with City yet.
No, because they haven't paid more than 60 million for a player. So somebody like, I don't know, who plays big
Man United.
Barcelona, right? Man United, right?
Because Barcelona are on a good one because they're in trouble as well and having to sell. Hence why they're getting rid of Coutinho and that.
Yeah. So how can Man United keep even when they're not successful, keep buying expensive ass football players?
Because they get huge amounts of money from sponsorship and merchandising.
That's it, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Obviously, if they sell players as well for the profit, that'd help, but they don't. So, it's just all coming. It's almost entirely sponsorship. Their sponsorship, huge amounts of money.
So there's no limits to the amount of sponsorships that comes into the club, correct?
Well, there is a limit on it, but they are just right at the top of the tree, aren't they, in terms of sponsorship deals?
But going back to Man City, Emirates, they're owned by Sheikh Mansour.
Whoa. Etihad are owned by Sheikh Mansour.
Aren't they not?
Emirates are owned by Dubai.
Okay, but can't they just say we're putting more sponsorship money into the fund?
Well, that's what they said they were doing. That's what the whole problem is that the Etihad or whoever were saying they were paying X amount, but most of it was just Sheikh Mansour sticking it in.
Etihad were
allegedly
actually physically putting in 6 or 8 million a year, and they were getting it topped up by City. That's what the allegation is.
All right.
So, but Billy, you're right. That's the most obvious thing, right? That would be the most obvious thing to do.
Where are Liverpool getting their money then? Or is their money from Coutinho? Is that how they could afford Van Dijk?
Nivea cream and Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's sponsorship, but it's also, prize money, TV money. Same as, United get TV money, but they're not getting as much as Liverpool now because of the Champions League run. Things like that.
I don't know where you've been the last 2 years, Billy, but we're pretty successful at the moment.
Last 3 years we've been in three European. We've been in 3 European finals in a row. It tends to bring in a fair bit of money.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mate, I know you turn your TV off on Wednesday night, so I forgive you.
His TV's black and white.
My life's black and white.
If only it was a silent movie.
Yeah. So next, Tristan, what you got next, mate?
Right. Well, I was thinking the next thing to go on was the Italy won in the VAR challenges. What do we think of that? Italy won in VAR challenges. A lot of people talk about, should we have challenges? Italy have actually requested from IFAB that coaches can challenge a decision for VAR to look at.
But then if it's been made, if VAR have made a decision, how are they going to go back? Who's going to adjudicate
No. If it's not been made, a decision's not, if it's just the play's going on and they can get VAR involved to look at something they think should have been looked at.
So but they have a number on it, Chris.
Yeah, Billy, you're right.
Like in cricket, where you've got 3 appeals.
Yeah, it would be. It's only a limited number. Yeah.
That's a fantastic idea.
Do you think so? I don't.
Yeah.
It works in cricket,
Yeah, but really cricket's stop-start. This is a game that's, football's being ruined because it's going stop-start with the VAR. Isn't that part of the problem, is that they're making it stop-start? So, and this will just make it even more stop-start.
I don't like VAR anyway. So.
What do you foresee, or what do you want to happen then with VAR? Do you want it just to be the game keeps going on until VAR makes the decision, radios it into the referee, and then he'll stop it if he needs to, if it was a goal or if it was offside or something?
Well, or at the very least, if a decision can't be made in 20 seconds, carry on. You know what I mean? If they're looking at it and they're having to get out, they're having to get out magnifying glass to go in close to see whether he's an inch offside or whether he's actually, whether it's actual contact made. You can't see clearly whether there's contact made. Just carry on. Let the referee's decision be final. No, because you're not. No, because you're not. Because you don't need to stop and wait for them to make a decision. Because if they can't make it in the time before, while the the game's going. You can always call it back if it's 20 seconds on. It's only straight afterwards, isn't it?
Okay, so I understand that for a goal. So if a goal's been scored, it'll take 20-odd seconds for them to get back to the halfway line. In that time, VAR can make their adjudication.
Yeah.
I get that. But
well,
what
if it's
about...
a penalty, play's going on, and
right.
you know, they look at it and the referees wave play on, play carries on.
Right.
If they haven't called it back within 20 seconds, just carry on.
Okay, but what about within that 20 seconds, somebody takes somebody's leg off and it's a sending off offence? What happens?
Well, you know, you can't do anything about that. That's going to happen anyway, the way they've got it. I mean, again, in 20 seconds, the chances of that happening are very slight anyway, but...
I'm not saying it can't happen. Like some other contention issue can't happen, because then that would be dead. That would be dead football then, wouldn't it? That 20 seconds.
They've
so
already,
what do you do?
But you've already got that in terms of like if a goal's scored and in the build up to it, you know, it gets called off because of offside. But in the build up to it, someone sives someone down, but the play carries on because the ball breaks to a striker who puts it in the back of the net, and the guy who sives someone down gets a red card. That would be, if it goes back to an offside decision, that all gets cancelled out anyway. Because the first offence is the offside. So it's only the same as what we've got now, really.
It's, like Billy said, it's a frigging mockery, this, the system. What they should do, they should have officials, they should have statesmen of the game, journalists, whatever it needs to be, right? A think tank for a month, sitting in a hotel room and just coming up with variations or ideas, and just coming up with one situation and to have implemented for next season. This is ridiculous the way it is at the moment.
They go along, they really are.
Yeah, they need to have a massive think tank, right? And we need to come up with one just waterproof, foolproof idea that's going to bring the game forward and not have this situation at the moment. I mean, the best way at the moment, I know, Tristan, you've been advocating this for ages, is I think the most easiest thing in the current situation is for the referee just to run across to the screen at the side of the pitch and just make a decision, rather than it going upstairs or whatever. That at the moment is the easiest and most practical, less time consuming way. And then in the summer, somebody, FIFA, UEFA, FA, all the football organisations, they need to just come together and have one blanket universal rule for everything.
Isn't that what IFAB's supposed to do? They're supposed to be the think tank that creates the rules.
But clearly, then it's not. This rule isn't working, so they need to think. It's making a mockery of the game.
The rule that they've come up with isn't the same as the one we're using in the Premier League, remember?
I remember you saying, yeah, but the thing is, what I'm saying is, in an ideal world, in a footballing utopia, there needs to be just one directive everywhere.
Well, that's what they've done, but the PGMOL have just ignored it and thrown it out the window.
So they shouldn't be allowed to do that. There should be some kind of regulations and laws that they can't. They have to uphold. They have to be governed by this rule. You know, they can't just jump over it and break it, because it's so like everybody. I mean, people are laughing at the game. You know, this one thing is meant to have improved it, and it's completely broken it to an extent.
Absolutely.
I mean, but then again, as you guys will concur, football, the FA, and common sense don't go in hand.
You don't.
Speaking of rule changes, while we're on the subject, they're looking at making a couple of changes to the Premier League rules, but one of them is where the players go off at the nearest point, supposedly, but it never really happens. Well, that's because of the abuse players get, on away grounds. The abuse they get has been so bad that they want to scrap that rule altogether.
I'm not. It doesn't bother me.
No, but
that is
what it should. The reason why it bothers me is that could have been a really good thing for kids watching the game. Because kids that get them to the front, they could have gone and shaken hands with the players. While they're the ones that are taken off, while they walk around the pitch, they could have had selfies with them. Getting them to sign autographs, things like that. That's what it should have been used for, is so that these kids could get a closer look at these Premier League players. And instead, it's ended up we're having to scrap it because a few knobheads can't behave themselves.
Yeah, but the knobheads got louder voices, so that was it's mate. Unfortunately, I think that you're always going to get those Neanderthals, and they'll spoil it for the rest of us. Boom, boom.
Just saying, like.
Ooh, you're on fire today, mate.
Just point
but
it
I
out.
won't put you out. Don't worry about it. Yeah, Billy, what do you think?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because Tris makes a great point that you could associate with the fans more. We all want players to do that. But if they're getting abuse, you can understand why they're changing. You don't want players getting abused. That's grounds. It's just wrong.
Billy, your point about players spending more time with fans and stuff. I feel that players could do a lot more after the game, and sign a few more autographs. I think there should be some kind of unofficial regulation by the clubs that, you go out, spend an hour after a game signing autographs for the kids, because people come a long way to put a lot of money in the game. And it's £35-40 for a ticket. If you get it legitimately, that's a lot of money. And I really do feel that players could do a lot more. I think they're a little bit closeted from the real world. And I understand they do the community bits and pieces, but maybe you've just flown in from Ireland or Denmark or wherever it is, and you've come to see your team. For an hour after the game, if you had an opportunity to get a photograph with a player or an autograph signed, I think it'd be a nice touch. And it wouldn't take too much out of your day either, 1 hour for the squad to do that outside in the car park.
The Everton squad do it before the game.
Well, when Keegan was
do it at 12 o'clock of an afternoon. They have players meetings with fans.
Yeah, but you guys are big in the community. You do a lot of stuff. The Everton Football Club do a lot of stuff in the community. Hello?
Hey, can you hear me there?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I
was just saying that Everton do a lot for the community, the football club, correct?
Yeah, they do, very much so.
That was it. That was after all that. All you said was, "Yeah, very much so." I was waiting for something. I was waiting for some real insight. I thought you were going to talk about some of the things they do. They're little something.
Billy, I built you up twice as well. I give you.
Oh God!
I didn't want to sit down.
Brilliant.
Just being talking about Everton.
Oh mate, that was hilarious. What was I going to say? What you got next on the agenda, Tristan?
Well, I was thinking we could look at the what's been going on in Spain. I mean, there's a few things. The Eibar match versus Real Sociedad that was meant to be played on Sunday had to be postponed because the air quality was too bad. Have you ever heard of that before?
That, yeah.
Yeah, because they've had a fire on it. No, they had a fire on a landfill site. Caught fire, collapsed and caught fire and that. And there's toxins in the air and that. Too bad to go outside. So they had to postpone the game. But, I mean, have you ever heard of a game cancelled for air quality, like?
Boring. Next.
Yeah, anyway, so the other one was the Barcelona thing, they're signing a striker.
Yes.
Now, this is something that a lot of people seem to dislike. What do you think?
What is your views on it? If it's rules, it's rules.
Yeah, but do
Billy?
you know... Billy, you there, mate?
Billy?
Yeah, I'm back now.
All right. So what do you think of the Barcelona signing thing?
I don't really care about Barcelona, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I just mean, do you not think it's a bit odd that they can sign a player, just because... Not because they can sign a player as in, like... as an issue. They're weakening another team in La Liga who can't go and sign a player so that they can have a better player. Does that not seem a bit unfair? And it's for an injury that was only considered a 4-month injury when he had the exact same injury earlier in the season. But now it's a 6-month injury. Oh no, that's in the English league. Goalkeeper.
Dembele got injured.
Yeah.
Who signed Trish?
They're trying to sign a striker.
Braithwaite.
Yeah, that's who they're trying to sign. But there's got a few of they played against one of them as well. They're just trying to sign a striker basically. Anybody who'll move there. So
it's going back to the old rules, isn't it? Where there was no windows.
Yeah, but
just sign players you wanted.
That'd be fine if the other team that's going to be selling him could then go out and spend the money. But otherwise, it seems a bit unfair on them, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's unfair. Yeah, I can see that.
Rules is rules. They're not breaking any rules.
Yeah, but they're abusing it. Well, do you know what? They're kind of like doing a Man City thing with it because the injury to Dembele was listed as a 4-month injury and he previously had the same one. Now it's a 6-month injury because 5 months will give them a chance to sign another player.
But what you're not appreciating is that it was an independent commission, an independent doc that said it was a 6-month injury.
Yeah, it was an independent. Yeah, but it was an independent doctor that was doing the doping and in case, and stuff like that in sports and stuff. So it's easy to pay off a doctor to give the result you want.
Maybe it is, but it's easy to manipulate this story for your narrative as well. So until they get caught or somebody says, right, they did something illegal, it's fair play and rules is rules. And
if they'd not given if the exact same injury wasn't considered a 4-month injury previously, I would agree with you. But it was considered 4 months. Now, because they want to sign a player, because Suarez is out as well, suddenly it becomes a 6-month injury. That's when you just say there's something dodgy going on.
But
I agree with that. It is dodgy.
But we don't know the ins and outs of the case as well. Medically, we don't know what his hamstring.
Let's just say he wasn't happy about agreeing to it being ruled as a 6-month injury because he's worried about it affecting his chances in the Euros.
Okay. Now, if he comes back before 6 months and plays in the and what happens?
Nothing.
He can't play for Barcelona again. He can't play for Barcelona.
Why can't
he? Because they'll be infringing. He can't play for Barcelona again this season. That was the point of the why they're getting.
Yeah. Well, this is the problem,
player.
and this is the problem they had is that he wants to, he wants to play to get a Euros place.
I think France will pick him anyway.
Well, that's one of the things he wanted assurances about.
Well, I mean, who would you pick, Dembele or Giroud, who plays once every 3 months, so he's as good as anyway?
Yeah, it's odd that he doesn't play.
He scored a great goal the other day, but that was chalked off against
Man United.
Did you see that game, guys? Man United, yeah. Did you see that, Billy?
I've seen that, yeah. It seems mad, doesn't it? His body was behind the player and his toe was in front. It just beggars belief to me.
Well, Wenger wants to change it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, I think that's a good rule. Where what's the exact stating of the law that rule that Wenger wants to implement, Tristan?
Where if any part's onside, the whole player is onside.
Yeah, that seems more logical to me. Like,
well,
and that's what. Go on, mate.
We're supposed to be giving the advantage to the attacker, and that's what it does. So I think that works.
Yeah, and you'll see. I think if that comes into force, I think you'll see a lot. Obviously, you're going to see a lot less stop-start because that will just be a 5-second VRA check rather than a 3-minute one.
Possibly. I don't think it'll make much difference the way they use it.
No, but I mean, you see what I mean, though? It's going to be quicker to see. I mean, the naked eye could see. You don't need to get all these lines out which take time. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, you
so
don't.
It'll be a really quick check rather than a...
But this is football, and they don't do things the clever way, do they?
Oh, you're right, mate. You're right. Billy, you got anything Everton related, mate?
Well,
not much. We've been on holiday.
I was just going to say there's one more Barcelona thing as well.
Oh, go on, mate. Sorry. Yeah.
Have you not heard about the social media posts?
No, I haven't.
You haven't heard this story about the SER Catalunya, a local radio station in Barcelona, has claimed that Barcelona have hired a firm to make social media posts that disparage its own players. And basically what it is they're saying a radio station claimed that Barca use a firm called i3 Ventures to manage dozens of accounts on Twitter and Facebook that have attacked current players like Lionel Messi and Gerard Piqué, as well as Pep Guardiola, Xavi, Carles Puyol, and the current president's Josep Bartomeu's presidential rivals. So that's dodgy, isn't it, if it's true? I mean, Barca admit they work for the club, but they say the accounts aren't. That's not what they're there for. But it just seem odd.
Just.
Where did they come up with it? If it's not, where did this radio station come up with this idea that that's what it's for? If it wasn't what it's for.
Use that, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, you don't pluck something like that out of nowhere, do you? So it's another one. Has he gone? Has it just me and you, Bill? We could talk about him now.
No, I'm doing what good. I'm not doing what good broadcasters do. I'm listening.
That's not good. You don't want to do that.
See? That's gone over your head because you haven't...
No, it's just because we can't talk about you then.
See, I don't know if you've heard of this skill in communication called listening.
La 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 la. I've got my fingers in my ear now.
Exactly, yeah. Right. What you got next on your list, mate?
Well, I mean, there's only really... I mean, it's really one thing. It's back to the old racist abuse, I'm afraid, isn't it? I don't know if you heard about the Porto forward, Musa Marega, walking off the pitch midway through a game.
Yeah, good old racism. Yeah, go on, mate. No, I haven't.
We can't, just getting ridiculous. Anyway, he was being racially abused. He scored a goal, and it turned out to be the win. They're leading 2-1, Porto. About less than 10 minutes later, he's getting so fed up with the racist abuse he's taken from the Vitoria Guimarães fans. He goes to walk off the pitch, and all his teammates are trying to stop him. They've literally, they're rugby tackling him, trying to hold him off. And then, so they substitute him off and carry on playing. Now, I'm not being funny, but surely, I know it just seems to me that they were thinking it's far more important they win the game than that their teammate got racially abused, is how it comes across to me. Shouldn't they have all walked off with him?
I'd like to think so, wouldn't you? I'd like to see that happen. I'd like to see it happen in an English game as well.
But, Billy, you say that. I don't think that I'm not so sure. I'm not talking about lower leagues, mate, but at a Premiership, at a Premiership level, I don't think you'll have that chanting or that level of abusive chanting anyway. I just don't think it would happen. And if it did happen, oh my God, I would seriously advocate players walking off. I would as a captain.
Do you not think it depends on whether Craig...
with the England national side, and I thought the players should have walked off last time when it happened. They should have walked off and made a stand, because if you don't stop it, nip it in the bud, it's going to get worse.
Billy, you make a good point. Why do you think they didn't walk off? Is it because who was being targeted? I don't watch international football much, so I'm not a aficionado by any stretch of imagination. But I remember it happened, the instance. But who was they targeting, or was it just generally black players in the England team?
It was Sterling in one game. I remember it being Sterling in one game, but I can't think of who the last one was. But
listen, I didn't ask you because you don't really. I know you don't.
No, but I'll tell you what it was, though. The reason why they didn't walk off, because they were winning. Exactly the same as this incident. And that's my point, is they seem to think it's far more important that they win the game than their teammates being abused.
Do you think it's courage? Do you think it's more to do with courage, that they don't want to take that step because they don't know what the reaction would be like? I mean, or do you think it's just? I mean, their country's winning, and that's what, like you say, that's what matters. But there's more to life than just a football game.
Let's
really.
Just see what happens if they were losing. Would they do the same thing? Would they stay on the pitch? I guarantee you, they'd all walk off with him.
It is open to abuse. It is open to abuse.
Yeah.
But unless you do make a stand about racism, it's only going to get worse. And to be honest with you, after the 80s, when it was really bad, racism was bad in the 90s. It's died down, and then it's reared its ugly head again. And unless they do something, it's just going to get worse for me.
Yeah, but football mirrors politics. I know that's a different subject altogether, but it really does. Football mirrors politics, and unfortunately, that's where we're at. You know, funnily enough, you said about the 80s, Billy. Somebody asked me about the racism and an extension of that was the hooliganism, I suppose. Somebody a couple of people asked me last week about they still think that English football is associated with hooliganism, and that's like 20 years on. And it's interesting you made that point, because that's what people in the States, think of English football, the hooligan element, which is pretty funny. I thought, well, not funny, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
Improved a lot. The 80s was terrible. It really was for hooliganism. I went to some grounds and it was absolutely vile. It was terrifying. Some grounds, Man United, Middlesbrough, grounds I went to, and it was frightening. It was actually, you were actually scared for your life. And it got a lot better in the 90s. It really did. And it's been okay, but it's gradually getting worse. And I don't think needs to be put a stop to be honest with you.
Do you think that's a worry as well, with them looking to go back to standing in matches? Do you not think that's, that is part of the problem, because people are in close proximity, they're stood up, they're already close enough to, to just start a fight without being, they're in a crowd then, rather than sat down. It's much more difficult. It's much more difficult to pick a fight with someone when you sat down, isn't it?
It is, and that's really improved for me. After Hillsborough, I don't think there should ever be any standing at the football ground. But that's just my opinion,
I'm with you on that. I don't agree with it, but I just think people have forgotten what it was like when you stood at grounds. For someone like me, who's quite short in particular, I was, as a kid, I was tiny, and when I was standing on the cop, I could, unless you go down the front, you can't see a bloody thing. So, you're missing half the game because somebody else jumps. I don't understand the excitement. The atmosphere was great, but that's not going to come back because you suddenly stood up, is it? People have changed.
Tristan, you're saying the atmosphere was great. I agree with Billy. Going to away games in the 80s and some of the 90s, you had to have your wits about you to survive just the match. let alone get into the game and after the game. You know, like it's.
No, I wasn't saying.
I know what you're saying, but
I wasn't saying the atmosphere. I'm just saying that's what people remember. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now, okay, guys, do you think that with the advent, and I'm not gonna. This is just playing devil's advocate here. Listen to what you got. Highlight what you guys are saying. Now, do you think that the birth of the Premier League had a lot to do with the dilution of the hooligan element and the more family orientated culture of football that we have today, kind of thing? Do you think that was because of the Premier League's invention or incubation?
No. It was the seated stadium.
Okay, so Tristan,
better facilities, I think, and not being treated like cattle, because in the 80s and early 90s especially, you were treated like cattle. You got off the train or you got off your coach, and there was no cultural incidents whatsoever. You were like cattle to the ground. And then you got escorted back to your coach or back to the train station, and there was no enjoyment for me, and I stopped going to the away games because of it.
But why? How has that changed? I don't understand how sitting down has changed that dynamic, that you don't get cattled in. I just don't understand. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't understand where the
connection. I mean, it's just about sitting down, you know. It's about people are treated better now than what they were then by the authorities, by the police, and by the people in the ground, the stewards, and everything else. It used to be horrible to go to away games. It really did.
So, when do you think that switch was flicked? That one where you go from being abused basically at football games as supporters, and then being treated like now. You go to a football game now, it's all smiles and you know, it's all positivity and light and everything.
You've not been to Goodison, have you?
No, but every time I go to a Liverpool, go on, mate. Sorry, Billy.
When I used to go to a lot of away games with Liverpool because all my mates were Liverpoolians, and we'd go to Middlesbrough, and you'd be pushed onto a track, and there'd be people above you hurling bricks at you, and you had to walk down the live rails to the station. You know, that was one of my worst experiences in football ever. And
when was this? What years? When was this? Around what time?
1930.
Early 80s.
Early 80s.
In the early 80s.
1880s.
And
1880s, yeah.
1780s.
Yeah. So you're saying that,
you know,
but my question to you, Billy, is, mate, why and when did this all change from being like, I don't know, on live tracks, getting bricks thrown at you? When did it all change to smiles and nice and positivity and light? Why? Why did it change, and when?
I think supporters got fed up with it, and I think people were not attending as well to away games.
Gotcha.
And
so you think there was
a cultural... It just seemed to coincide with the Premier League.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying before. They did coincide. It was about that time that things got better.
I think it is.
But what I would say, is it because, or just that happened to come along at the right time? I think it just happened to come along at the right time, and partly the reason why I was saying the seat is the other thing is when you're paying for a seat, you're paying a lot more for your ticket than you were when you were stood up before. So suddenly you're valuable to them. You've gone from paying 20 pence in Bilbo's day, you know, when he was going in the 18th century. You know, he's paying 20p to get in. Suddenly you're paying 40 quid. You know, you're suddenly really valuable. You know, you're spending money in the shop as well, which you can't buy. You can't even buy a cup of tea there. Even in the 90s, you couldn't buy a cup of tea for less than a couple of quid, could you? So suddenly you become a really valuable customer rather than a thing. I think it did coincide with the Premier League. You're right, but I'm not sure it was because of it It's just
I think
to come along at the same time.
I hear you guys. I think it all dovetails, to be honest with you. I think it all dovetails and it all kind of meshes into one kind of thing. It's a very interesting subject, definitely. I mean, so you guys no to both of you say no to freestanding at grounds anymore.
Definitely.
I do, yeah.
I don't think, from a personal perspective, I don't think we'll ever see it at Liverpool, because I think there will be a mass outcry because of, obviously, Hillsborough.
There are elements that are campaigning for it in the Liverpool support.
I just don't see, honestly, guys, I just don't see how, in such a, I don't think how we can have that happen in such a short time after Hillsborough, because that really is obviously a dark and painful moment in our history, and there's lessons we've learned from that, and these lessons are we've had the lessons are very positive and pure and beautiful. Look, we've had the seating and everything, and hopefully that tragedy like that never happens again. And to go back, I think it just be be kind of disrespectful to the families. And I just still think it's a positive thing to do, is have seats. I have a wonderful time when I go and watch the match on seats.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped the seating. I think people treat each other better, and you don't get pushed and you get bullied. You see young kids getting bullied at games when they're standing. They're pushed down, or so some of them get a better view.
And I was going to say something, my mum, when she was talking about, like, we've done a couple of podcasts together, recorded a couple, about her talking about her experiences with football. And one of the things she was saying about is that you get touched and you couldn't see who'd done it because they're all stood in a crush. Things like that, in places you don't want to be touched. When she was a girl, I'm talking about, like when she was like 14, 15, and there'd be that
happened to you as well.
That. Well, you've been touched in the head, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, things like that happening, people forget about, because they don't. And now it's family friendly. I don't think you should go back just because a few people look at it with rose-tinted spectacles and think it was suddenly great. I mean, most of this is a problem because you've got a few knobhead away fans, particularly Man United, I've got to say, and this isn't a dig because I'm a Liverpool fan, but Man United fans have been the worst for this from day one. And I don't know if this is a deliberate reaction because it was Liverpool fans that were hurt or whatever. I don't know why it's them, but they are particularly bad for this standing up, persistent standing, which is why their allocation's been was cut at every ground at one point.
I didn't know that, actually. That's an interesting point you just made about the United fans. But I just want to go back before I forget. Why are elements within the Liverpool community, the Liverpool fan, wanting freestanding again? I don't understand. Explain to me why.
Because they remember the good bits of the club. People forget. This is the thing. It's like when people say to you, your school days were the best of your life. No, they weren't. You just forget all the crap stuff and you remember the good stuff when you look back. That's what it is.
You're right.
It weren't the best of your life. Life gets better as you go. When you retire is the best time of your life because, life's great. You've got your grandkids, your kids and all that around you. You know what I mean? That's your best time. Not when you're a kid at school. But you forget, all the bullying and all the abuse you take and, the fights and the bickering and the arguing and all these, and having to go to school and be miserable and stuff like that. You forget all that. You just remember the good bits, like. And that's what people are doing with they standing on the Cop or wherever it was. It was Gladys Street End, wasn't it? At Goodison was the main one. Yeah. I should remember. I mean, it's not like I haven't been there. I apologise for forgetting the name. Yeah. I mean, it's in the old days, people used to, like Liverpool and Everton fans, they'd go to whichever team was at home because it was cheap and they'd stand and there wasn't a problem. And that's... And that, and that's why people remember and they think it's great.
rather than football fans. The trouble there was with society as well. You know,
you're right, Billy.
And that goes with racism as well, which runs hand in hand with hooliganism for me. And it was about social injustice as well. People were really frustrated. The unemployment was high, and they vented the frustration at football grounds. And a lot of it was to do with rundown inner cities and things like that. Whereas when they got Seaton, it helped because you were treated better. You know, you had a place to sit. You could watch the game without having to be pushed all around the gaff, you know.
I think you're spot on there. God,
you were a person, Rob.
I hate saying that you were right, Billy, but...
No, I thought you were Smith.
There's gritted teeth you can hear there.
The two you have left. All right. What's next on the agenda, my friend?
There's only one last thing I was thinking of, and that's still on the same subject, and that's a certain Craig Ramage's comments. I'm taking it we've all seen them.
That was... I cannot believe he actually said that. I mean, even when you... obviously, most people think about what they say before they say it, right? I mean, in your head, that's even wrong. I mean, forget about an open forum in front of thousands of people, but in your head, that's wrong. Surely your head's telling yourself, oh my God, don't say that. Do not say that. Do not say that. Oops, I've said it. I mean, Billy, did you hear the comments?
No, I didn't.
Did you read the comment? Tristan, I'll leave it to you.
Right, I'll best read them. I'll best read the full comment. Right, what he said was, he was talking about why Derby County aren't doing very well, and he's BBC pundit on BBC Radio Derby, and at the same time, this is something one of the Derby County players, pointed out as well. One of the young, he was saying that they're actually advertising a feature about how a former Rams defender called Charlie Palmer, he faced difficulty as a young black footballer in the 80s. They're advertising that before this show goes on. You know what I mean? So you've got, and he said
all the warning signs.
Yeah, you're thinking, so he's had he's had it in his head, obviously, because he's gone on to say why they're having trouble. He said, when I look at certain players, their body language, their stance, the way they act, you just feel, hold on a minute, he needs pulling down a peg or two. So I'll probably say that about all the young black lads. All the advice, if they wanted it, it's about when you were struggling for form, you're going through a sticky patch, it's about going back to basics, working hard and doing the right things. Why did he say young black lads? I mean, why use the word black? Why are they different from the other lads there?
Because he's clearly racist.
I know, you're just thinking, that's clearly in your head. He's, it's racial stereotyping, basically, isn't it?
It's a Freudian slip, if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, that's not even an angry comment either. That's where he's taken the time to think it out.
It's Freudian slip. I mean, at the very least. I mean, it's like, why would you say that? I mean, what? I mean, I'm flabbergasted. I'm lost for words. I mean, how can somebody say that? Even if you're thinking it, you just don't say it. You can't say it. This isn't Millwall in the 1970s. This is a multicultural Britain in 2020.
Yeah. Isn't that half the problem?
But exactly. But what? Yeah, I suppose you're right. But what
Britain's a
mess. Listen, you're right. You're right. Maybe he feels he can say something like that in the multicultural Britain in 2020. Yeah, of course you're right. Maybe you are right.
Well, let's face it.
Like Billy was saying.
Brexit's there now. It's been fought on a tide of racism, so they can come out of the closet now, can't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lost for words as to why would you say that? I mean, and then apologise afterwards. I mean, what's the apology worth? I don't know. I mean, how can you unsay that? I mean, how can you say that's not what I meant in your apology? That doesn't represent who I am, etc., etc. but then why say it?
Well, that's what I say. If it's an angry comment, you say things in anger deliberately to hurt the person you're speaking to, deliberately to antagonise them. That's what you do in anger. But he's not. He said that in a calm moment. He's thought it out, and he said that. So obviously he thinks that it's down to the black lads that are letting them down. So he's singling them out as being worse than the white lads. But why? Why are they worse? It shouldn't be the colour of their skin that matters.
Guys, I have no problem. I'm a man of colour myself. I have no problem with somebody saying, you know what? It's the brown or the black lads that are letting us down with their attitude and their whatever their demeanour. I have no problem with somebody saying that. At least they're open and overt about it. But then going out and apologising for it afterwards, it means nothing.
I don't think you should really have said it in the face.
No, I'm with you, Bill, but I don't think you should have said it in the first place. Oh, I think we've got a gap where my internet's gone off, so I'm going to have to fill in for a bit here while it reconnects, I'm afraid. So, I don't know, maybe I should just carry on talking about it while they wait, or I'll edit this bit out.
Okay.
Sorry, it went off for a bit there. My internet went off. So I was having to fill in. I wasn't sure whether to fill in or I'll just edit this bit out afterwards if I can be bothered.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry, I was mid diatribe there. Let me start.
I was listening to it and I was getting into it, and then you've all vanished.
Okay. We ready? Yeah. So what I'm saying is, right, you put a comment, a proper EDL comment out there like that, right? I mean, just go with it. I mean, if that's how you feel, have the courage of your convictions and just leave it out there instead of taking it back with an apology by saying, I don't know, that doesn't represent me or whatever. These words don't represent me. Clearly they do, mate. Clearly they do.
Then, isn't it? It really
Otherwise you wouldn't have said them. All right, if you said that and then if you said that comment and then literally straight after you say, look, I didn't mean just the black lads, I meant all the lads. You know what I mean? That's understandable. You can have a slip of the tongue or whatever. You know what I mean? But doing it after the fact, it just means nothing to me, to be honest with you.
I think the worst thing was that on the programme itself at the time, nobody even challenged the comment or picked him up on it at all.
I mean, that's very hard to believe, and
no, it's true. That's what they were. That's why the Derby County players are absolutely up in arms because nobody even said, "Hey, hang on a sec." Come on, you can't just single out the black lads, or something like that, or anything like that, or nobody said anything. They just carried it on.
Let me ask you, Tristan, Billy. I don't know if did you read about this at all, Billy?
No, I didn't. Hank.
Okay,
no.
So Tristan, let me ask you, mate. Did any of the editors of the program did they issue an apology afterwards?
They sacked him afterwards, but I mean at the time I'm talking about, when it was being discussed on air, they didn't. Nobody said to him, "Whoa, hang on a sec. You can't just say it's the black lads. There's 11 players that are going on that pitch every week, and it's not just the black lads that are letting it down. It's the entire team or something like that." Nobody said anything about it. They just carried on.
Do you know what? It's just disgusting comments. I mean, and you guys are right. You guys are right that for somebody even to have the balls to say that in 2020. In a multicultural UK in 2020, that just says, again, it says more about life than it says about football, because they mirror each other, so insane. And again, Billy, I don't know if you've been listening to the podcast since we started. A lot of our See You Next Thursday podcasts, the recurring theme is racism, which is unfortunate,
Terrible though in this day and age, isn't it? That can still be an issue, but it is in society. So it's a reflection of society, and it's a reflection of how many people out there are absolute knobheads, really. Yeah. They are.
No, that's spot on.
They're uneducated and they can't see the wood for the trees, to be honest with you. There's just some disgusting people out there, and racism is one of the worst, for me, forms of hatred in the world, you know. You know, that anti-Semitism, anything to do with that. It's, you know, why can't just people get along and live together? It's not nice.
Which reminds you, while we're on the subject of hatred and that, what do we think of the Man United Chelsea game? The clear chance of the Chelsea rent boy chance from the Man United fans, after there's been so much press about, you know, them challenging the team. You know, so far they've been complaining about it publicly. But you know, what do you think of that? Like,
I think that. Go on, Billy.
Just going to say that, you know, United fans, I'm not just saying United, there's loads of fans out there of different clubs, but there is some terrible things you hear at football grounds. No need for it, really.
You're right, mate. You're right, because what I think, Billy, Tristan, is that, listen, it's all about embracing, for me, life is all about embracing modernity, right? Back in the 70s and the 80s, 90s, or whatever, Chelsea rent boys chants, Yidos chants were fair game because society wasn't educated enough or evolved enough to appreciate or understand that these were discriminatory chants. We do now, right? In this day and age, we know that that's a homophobic chant. The other one's the Spurs one's a racist chant. So we have to appreciate that and understand that and stop saying it. But this is how we evolve as a race, and this is how football evolves, as how life evolves. But so the FA have to, in my opinion, slap down hard on that kind of stuff. I mean, if that means people that chant Chelsea rent boys getting, I don't know, fans being banned from the stadium, points being docked, then so be it. Because I know it's hard to police, but the thing is, this is discrimination. It's just a different form of discrimination. It's racism, homophobia, it's all the same thing.
Yeah, you've actually got where I was trying to get to, really. The question I was trying to ask is, what kind of punishment can they do to actually stop this keep happening? You know, how can you punish these people that keep doing these kind of things, is what I was trying to get to, really. Not asking you what do you think about it, because obviously it's bloody obvious what you think about it. You know what I mean? And you've got nail on the head there. Do they have to go down the route of punishing teams by docking points, or does that cause a problem? Because, well, what happens if you're... Well, just look at it this way.
Your team...
Yeah, but if you're playing... Liverpool are playing Everton, right? And a bunch of Everton fans... I don't know, Liverpool are winning, or whatever. It doesn't matter whether they're winning or losing, but a bunch of Everton fans start chanting some racist chants. Obviously, they're not dressed in Everton gear, so they wouldn't know. So you wouldn't know they're Everton fans, but they start chanting racist stuff about Everton players, so people think they're Liverpool fans. You know what I mean? Doing it and get Liverpool dock points. That's that. You know what? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that?
I understand your fears, Tristan, but I don't think that we're segregated now into. I know it doesn't happen much in Derby. And you might have a point with a derby, but where fans are segregated at normal matches, you can hear which side is being racist and which you can't.
But I can get tickets to any team.
Yeah, I know, but you've got to be singled out by other supporters around you who should not accept it and should report it then to a steward or to a police and say, this man's making homophobic or racist comments. We don't want to be associated with that club, and that's what we've got to do it.
The problem is a lot of clubs, the stewards and the police just don't act on it.
Yeah, but this is where the television companies come in.
So how technology. But how do you force clubs to act on it? Because that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, but this is not for us to implement. This is for the FA to decide. They've got to come up with a situation where they get together with the clubs, the television companies, and the technologies to single out who's been saying and singing what, and then give it befit the punishment has got to befit the crime.
I'm not sure about TV technology. You've heard about the facial recognition they put it. Was it a shopping centre in somewhere in like London, wasn't it? I don't know if you've heard this story, Bill, where they said they're putting in facial recognition technology, the police are. 3% success rate. 3%. And it can't distinguish women or people of colour. It can't see them. So it can't see you if you're not white. It can't see you if you're a woman. Or something like
Even
that.
the facial recognition system's racist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if you look, you're perfectly safe so long as you don't look anything like somebody who's done something.
Oh, yeah. That is so bad, yeah.
Oh, it's 3% success rate, so you can't really rely. I think Billy's right that you've got to have the fans have got to get in and report them, and the club has got to act. And you've got to find a way to force the clubs to act, and maybe that is points penalties, because then they'll have to get them.
It's the only thing they're aware.
Billy's hit the nail on the head when he came out with what he said, that people around have to be the ones that shot people in, because if somebody was abusing, if I was in a Liverpool match and somebody was racially abusing Divi or Mane, I'd be the first to smack them and then tell somebody that they've been racially abusive. That's what Billy's exactly right. That's exactly what's got to happen, is we've got to take accountability for our own actions and other people's actions as well. That's where it starts. So
I'd certainly confront them and say, why are you saying that? Why would you say that about someone? Shame them, as well as I would report them. But as you say, where'd you get hold of a steward? Where'd you get hold of a policeman when you're at the ground? Yeah, exactly. I definitely confront them and say, why would you say that? Why would you say that about someone?
And you're right, Billy. And I think at the matches now, these days, I've certainly not heard any racist abuse in the last few years, that's for sure. If it does happen, it's an anomaly, and I don't remember it, but I don't know in the other grounds, other teams or lower leagues or whatever. I certainly haven't. Any Liverpool home and away game I've been to, I haven't heard it.
No, I haven't been to the ground for a while now, but but I did hear that at Goodison. I did hear it at Goodison when I was younger, and
I heard it. I heard it at Liverpool years ago, but not, as I say, recently. Not since, like we were talking about, the facilities have been upped and the culture has changed, etc. So I think it's very, very stigmatized now. If you say something racially, anything prejudiced, people really do. It's like the place goes quiet, kind of thing,
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think football has helped in racial tension. Yeah. I think it's really helped because there's a lot of black players out there, and no one wants to someone aim at their own team or even an opponent racially, and I think that's carried on to society as well. And I think society's improved because of it, because of what's happened with football and all sports, to be honest with you. But, I think it is getting better. I hope it's getting better.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because who wouldn't want their sister to marry Divi? I'm telling you.
Me.
I'd let him marry me daughter. I like him that much.
You'd marry him.
I think too right.
Yeah, no, it's. I hear you, but guys, I hear you.
He's one of those. If you come home and you find him in bed with your missus, you just tuck him in nicely, make sure he doesn't catch a cold, doesn't he? Obviously, not Billy wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, Divi, mate. Divi had a nightmare yesterday.
Yeah, they did.
No, they all did. They all did. To be honest with you, I can't
believe
it.
Gomez.
Yeah, but
Gomez is good.
Yeah, he was excellent. It's just a shame Van Dijk was terrible. It's like he'd forgotten how to play.
I've not seen a more abject performance for a Liverpool side in a very, very long time. You can't blame the keeper. Can't blame the referee.
Do you not remember us at the end under Brendan Rodgers?
The Stoke game, yeah.
Oh. And the following season when he survived and got after getting rid of all his mates, stabbing them all in the back so he could keep his job. And he survived for the following season, and we'd have been in a relegation battle. That's where we were going.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, but I mean, yesterday was. I mean, based on what we've been served in the very.
That's it. You're being spoiled.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
What it is.
Think how Bilbo feels. Spoiled. He has to watch that kind of performance every week.
He'd love to see Everton play like that.
Especially in Europe.
Oh my God. Bournemouth is Europe to Everton.
It's when they go to Swansea and Cardiff. They say, do we need the passports?
It's a jolly. Cardiff is a jolly, eh?
Duty free and get Cardiff.
That's as close as they get to going abroad.
He'd apply for a visa for Cardiff. Mate, that is funny. Yeah, we were. I just hope. Oh, mate, I don't know. I know we'll turn it round in the second leg, but that was just poor. I think listen, what they've come up served up this season, they're due a bad performance. I can forgive them a bad performance like that. It was just
so. As bad as what you think, you know.
Sorry, mate.
It was as bad as what you think.
I think
it wasn't great, but 72% said they played a lot of good football. They just never had the cutting edge yesterday.
Mate, there was
nobody does against Atletico. It's the way Atletico play. They're the best. When they're on foot, when they're set up right, they've not been playing well because none of the players have been up for their games this season. They've been having a real problem because the players just haven't been at it, and this has been something which is why Simeone said, close to losing his job. They've not been playing at their best. They turned up yesterday because it mattered to them, and that's the difference. Is when they play for him. They're a very good defensive side. They had no need to attack because they got it out. They got the goal early, so they could just sit back and defend. So
this was our strongest 11. I'm not sure. I think a lot of teams have beaten us yesterday. I just think we were that abject, and I just think we didn't click. Listen, I'm having a moan.
Well, hang on. How many chances did Atletico actually get other than the goal?
How many chances did we make?
Not being funny, but it was a pure fluke. It just came off Fabinho's foot. I mean, how many times does that happen? I think you're being a bit harsh, mate. They got a lucky break and then threw themselves on the floor every time we attacked after that. It's not that bad.
If Morata was a footballer, we'd be out of that tie. He missed a complete two sitters. There you go. So they create two chances.
But we could have had a lot more. I mean, there was the one, the handling on the edge of the box. There was
There was one that
couple of chances for Henderson. How many times was the decisions go against us when you win the ball and you break, or when he's called it back, we're breaking through and he calls it back for a free kick to us. I mean, we're playing the advantage unless we actually had an advantage. It's like.
The referee was very, very poor. I'm not going to deny that, but being good at them a game, at least get a draw out of the game. The worst decisions for me was the one where Salah took it off the, is it Cody or the left
Lodi.
back? And he was at Lodi. And he took it and he ran into the box and he was free and he could have scored. That was pathetic. And the other one was when we did score, when Salah scored. But you see his first touch was meant to be not to Firmino, you know what I mean? And that wasn't a designed 1-2.
No, well, clearly he just didn't control it. But these things happen. You can't play brilliantly every week. We've come back from the stupid break. I said this. It's a mistake to have one for us. It's a disaster.
You play terrible afterwards.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't need a break. We need to keep on it. And then I'd much rather they just shorten the season and just. I mean, if they got rid of the break, well, they wouldn't have to have all the games jammed in close together, would they? So surely that would be better for the players than an actual winter break.
Yeah, I hear now. Because somebody on the telly said the same thing as you said, Tristan, a couple of weeks ago. This with the same thing as City, that they don't that the concentration levels dissipate, and that might hurt us. So I didn't really get it the time you were talking about it, but now I do. I mean, it really is just like, I don't know. I mean, to make them play peak every game is going to be impossible. But I just hope he can. Those constant, because in Europe nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Well, in the Premiership, people may be frightened of us. In Europe, they're going to be fighting for their lives. It's only 2 legs.
Yeah, exactly. But you watch. This is the thing. You watch teams like Bayern and teams like that. The Bundesliga teams after they come back after their winter break, and they're the same as well. Their intense. Their levels always drop, and they have to get back to sharpness. Every country that has this winter break has the same problem, and they end up, they only have, it's like we only had a week off, we only had a few days off. I mean, we were back within a week, before a week, so we only had a few days off anyway. So what's the point in a 2-week break when people are only actually having 3 or 4 days off anyway? I mean, why can't they just give players a few days off training? When there's no midweek game. Spread the games out a bit more and have them have more breaks in midweek so they can have a couple of days off here and there. What's the issue? I just don't understand the thinking behind this winter break. They keep saying it's pressure. But it's put in the wrong place for it to actually help with the pressure, because it's coming at the time when you're just entering the final stretch. So the pressure's starting to lift. You know what I mean? And you can see the finishing straight. That's when you want to just get it go. You just want to keep going. It should be either over Christmas or not at all. And they're never going to put it over Christmas.
No.
Are you in the bathroom, Billy?
No, I'm just going in the bathroom in a minute.
Because I just wondered, because it sounded all echoey then, like you'd gone to the bathroom and we shouted from the toilet.
I'm sitting in my conservatory at the back door having a smoke.
Conservatory?
Yeah, so moving the plants out the way.
You mean the outhouse?
Yeah, exactly. He's got a shed. Conservatory, my ass.
He's having a dump in the toilet outside.
Yeah, exactly. He's got an outside toilet and he calls it a conservatory because he's posh. All right, Mrs. Bucket.
All right, boys, I'm going to go for my bath now. She's run my bath. So I'm going to...
You got her well trained.
I know, yeah. She gets looked after, don't worry about that. It's a birthday tomorrow, so I've got to look after her.
Oh, right. That's why she's being nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well,
right, boys, it's been a pleasure again. I hope we can do this again next week. Or...
Yeah, it'd be great.
Really? Did you just say it's her birthday tomorrow? I got to look after her tonight. Did you just say that?
I wasn't going to go there.
I'm not going down that road.
don't even want to think about the old people and that. It's just no.
You,
oh God, I feel sick.
You stud Billy.
64, I think, tomorrow.
Woo, get the engine running.
I've given up on all that, like, I can tell you.
About 50 years ago.
What, all that gooey stuff, yeah?
Yeah. Give me a bacon sandwich any day.
and panorama.
Fried breakfast is far better.
Yeah. or do you remember what's the World in Action? I bet you guys. I bet Billy, you remember World in Action, don't you?
I remember World in Action, yeah.
And they had that Michelangelo picture, didn't they?
Which one of them?
The Etuvian man thing.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah. It's got that on.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Right, should we call it there then?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, boys. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
All right, guys. Take care. See you next week. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Thursday. Oh, yeah, Tuesday.